This video is about the rise and fall of the Independent Group, or the Independent Group for Change, or Change UK, depending on which point in their history you're talking about. On the 18th of February 2019, 7 Labour MPs announced they were leaving the party and sitting as a coalition of independent MPs. They were followed by another Labour MP on the 19th, and far more importantly, 3 Conservative MPs on the 20th. The main reason for the split was the Brexit referendum, and these MPs were solidly on the Remain side of the argument, while they felt that their parties were gradually becoming more and more Brexity. This is very obvious in the Conservative case, as they were the government trying to push through Brexit, but the Labour Party at this point was arguing for a Labour Brexit first kind of thing, instead of any kind of second referendum. Another reason the Labour MPs in particular had left was their disagreements with the Labour leadership, and Jeremy Corbyn in particular, over the handling of Brexit, but also things like the anti-Semitism crisis, which was a particular issue to Luciana Berger, who was a Jewish MP, a Jewish Labour MP, who was essentially hounded out the party by supporters. The group was transformed into a party so they could compete in the European elections that year, with Heidi Allen becoming the interim leader. However, they didn't do particularly well in the European elections. They got 571,000 votes, which is pretty good for a new party, but they failed to secure any seats, and the pro-European vote, which was what they were courting, had coalesced around the Liberal Democrats and the Green Party. After this, the party began to fall apart. On the 4th of June, 5 MPs, including interim leader Heidi Allen, left the party, with Anna Soubry becoming leader after that. On the 10th of June, 4 of the former Independent Group members set up the Independents with a ex-Labour MP, John Woodcock, who is now sitting as an independent, which was more of the loosely aligned voting group that they had initially planned to be. However, on the 13th of June, Chuka Umunna became the first of the group to join the Liberal Democrats, which is where many of the MPs would eventually end up. Of the MPs that left the group, all but Gavin Shucker eventually went on to join the Liberal Democrats. The final nail in the coffin for the Independent Group came in the December 2019 UK general election, where all members failed to retain their seats, including leader Anna Soubry. And on the 19th of December, Anna Soubry declared the party's dissolution. There are many reasons for the Independent Group's downfall. These include the members' focus on not being seen as the new SDP, which was a breakaway group from the Labour and Conservative parties in the 1980s, which I have a video actually on this channel on. But yeah, the real problem, I guess, was that they were so desperate to avoid that they didn't want to actually help and work with other parties that with similar views to them, but they were themselves smaller and didn't have the sort of national organisations that parties like the Greens and the Lib Dems, who were already pro-Europeans, had. This was compounded by the fact that there was local elections just before the European elections, where the Liberal Democrats made the best overall gains of 704 councillors, and the Greens did really well as well, gaining 198 councillors. And this really meant that most of the Remain vote, that was sort of what these guys were going for, went to those parties in the European elections, which meant that once these guys didn't do very well in Europe, they didn't really have any recourse, because they weren't really going to win in our first-past-the-post parliamentary system. It's very hard for new parties to break through in that system. Another problem was that it was never really meant to be an actual party. It was meant to be a sort of group of independent MPs, and they sort of constantly said that in the early days, and it really didn't survive its transformation into a party, which was necessary for it to continue past one parliamentary cycle. And finally, the Labour Party, which many of these people had broken off from, it became slightly more pro-European, particularly in the aftermath of the European elections, where calls from within the party basically brought it to where these guys wanted to be anyway. And if you were sort of choosing between, will I vote for Labour, the Lib Dems, or the Greens, established parties that have proven they can occasionally win things, or for this new party that probably won't, I mean, the choice is kind of obvious. So that was the rise and fall of the Independent Group. With our next video, I'm probably going to be looking at a short history of the US Libertarian Party, but if anyone else has any ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments. Goodbye.